And I want to touch on 3 points. Firstly, the positive contributions that unions can make to the economy. Secondly, how they would make those contributions. And thirdly, touch upon what I see as a big problem, the representation gap in the UK economy. And I would argue that unions can make an important contribution to UK PLC. And it's important to remember that at a time when unions are increasingly stigmatised and the media is focusing on strikes, strikes, strikes. That doesn't tell the whole story. But more than that, we should be really concerned about the woeful state of collective bargaining in British workplaces and the lack of real voice that workers have in workplace decisions. Okay? First point, the impact that trade unions can have on UK competitiveness, or if you like, employment outcomes, basic employment outcomes. Unionised workplaces have better records of training provision than non-unionised workplaces. I've done a lot of research on this for the TUC and actually for the Department of Business, looking at the contribution of unions to the learning agenda. And we find that they're making a really good contribution, but significantly employers recognise and value that contribution. Did a large survey of employers only the other year, and just very positive outcomes, and employers are associating the union role in the learning agenda with not just a reduction in workplace skills gaps and upskilling of workers, but contributions to improved organisational performance outcomes, trust at the workplace, dialogue at the workplace, this type of thing. Secondly, as Paul said, unions are associated with lower rates of labour turnover and absenteeism. And the reason for this is that they give workers a voice. They give workers a means to express discontent. And without that means, the only way that workers can really express their discontent is to keep quiet and to be unhappy, or to leave and get a job somewhere else. So it's this issue between exit and voice. Okay. The third point, this might seem ironic given the current newspaper sort of obsession. Unions can play a positive role in helping to resolve workplace disputes. Okay, they play an important expertise role, they play an important role in building trust. And that's very clear. There's a good ACAS research on this recently. So how do unions contribute? Firstly, they can act as a countervailing force. Essentially, they can act as a brake on the worst excesses of employer self-interest. They can close off routes to low skills, low wages and low productivities. And in that way, force employers to look at alternative routes to efficiency and productivity. They can act as a constructive challenge in the workplace. They can assist employers in terms of understanding their legal obligations and responsibilities. They can work with employers through projects on employee engagement and in partnership to look at how to solve workplace problems and come up with innovative solutions. And if you look at some of the research evidence and some of the practice over the recent economic downturn, there's good evidence to suggest that unions work with employers to reduce working time rather than to make workers redundant. So, you know, if there's a choice between workers losing their jobs and losing a few hours of work, then unions were looking at sort of solutions around that. The third point, as I've said, they can act as a conduit of worker expression and voice, providing a touchstone for workers' views at the workplace. Essentially, they can direct employers to what their workers are really thinking about new change initiatives. And they can work with employers in terms of getting employees to buy into change and to help to build trust at the workplace. And usually it's this building trust that contributes to performance improvements. That all sounds really great, but you know, we have to recognise that there are massive limitations in terms of the union role at the moment. There's a huge representation gap at British workplaces. The main means historically that unions contributed was through the institutions of collective bargaining. Okay. Unions historically were less interested in legal provisions. They were more interested in formal structures of dialogue at the workplace, and what a famous study by Alan Flanders referred to as the habit of discussion. And I would say that the habit of discussion is very important in terms of how unions can contribute to British workplaces. But we are losing that habit of discussion.
Thank you, Mark.